we're full of conflicts and misunderstandings and feelings that don't make sense. We're blindsided by our own thoughts. We don't understand our dreams. I mean, it's kind of, who are we? Who are you? We strive for coherence. We all strive for coherence because we suspect in some way we're very incoherent. That we're in some way unpredictable, although we are, to our daily minds, predictable. But you don't know what you're going to be like in any given circumstance unless that circumstance happens. And most of us try to create a world of circumstance that is knowable, that is familiar. We live in familiar. And we hunger for the familiar because it's the safest place we know. And yet, life surprises us all the time. You can tell I'm just talking even here about turning on the news. And one day the world is different from the day before. And sometimes it has big impact and sometimes it has minimal impact. But the news of the world is really about the extraordinary nature of not knowing others. Others are, for most of us, on some level impenetrable because we are not, any of us, the same. There are underlying principles that are universal, but the mixture of possibilities, of emotional being, story history, molecular construction, if you will. We're so different from one another. We're so different. And we're not really predictable to each other. Even though we find ourselves searching for that predictability, for a certain kind of comfort that we often will find in friendship, sometimes in family, in the knowable. I had a dinner party recently with friends from way back when, and we all sat around together and it was so familiar. It was so comfortable. It was so, what my very good friend from Detroit calls, it's so Detroit. We're all back being what we were, where we were, when we were, and we all know what that is, and it's so easy, and we fall into the simplicity of it, and we're all hunger for that. And then life keeps moving along. It keeps tearing us into different spaces and making us feel different things, and our sense of safety and security is shattered so often by events around us or by the unknowable within us. What do you do about that? How do you deal with otherness when you are your own other? one thing you need to do, we all need to do, is take a look at who we are. Surprisingly, it's hardly ever done. We can become analytical about who we are. We might sit with therapists and go through this process of, this is my story, and somebody did this to me when I was 4, and this happened when I was 8, and that was when I was 50. And all these things come together, and they create this idea of, a patterned idea of a person. And yet, knowing that person through analysis, through therapy, through examination, through the mind process of examination, leaves us still in a state of distress. Because we still surprise ourselves. We still find these strange emotions coming up. Thoughts of killing somebody you love. Thoughts of jumping out a window at any given moment. Thoughts of giving it all up and making way towards some totally new reality. These things come out of nowhere. What are they? What are these things that are talking to us, that telling us that we're a horrible person, or that we are so much better than we ever imagined, and we should become this and become that, and then the frustration of not living up to whatever these voices tell us. Where's all that coming from? Well, it's all coming from your mind. Your mind. Or we can even call it the mind, if you don't want to make it personal. It's coming from the mind. And it comes from the mind because the mind has been programmed to guide you through a world of unknowable reality. And so it's making the safest version of it possible for you to look at. And yet, as much as it presents you with a world that's sort of knowable, well, the movie starts at 8 o'clock, and if I do this and get to dinner, then I can get to the movie, then I'll get home, and then I'll go to bed, and I'll watch TV for a few minutes, and then that knowability creates a kind of false security. That, oh, this is what it is. And these are the people in my life, and this is how it works. And then every so often you get a sense, no, it's not how it is. It's not real. It's not that way. And you start to get really insecure, and you go, well, what do I do? What do I do about this? How do I live in a world of unknowing, of insecurity? Well, here's the secret, okay? Because it kind of has been around for a long time. The secret is find refuge. And where do you find refuge from you? Where do you find refuge from your own insanity, from your own doubting, from your fears, from your insecurities? Where do you go? You go right where you are. You go right into the core of where you are, but leave the mind out of it. The mind is your problem. It functions for you a lot of the time, but a lot of the time it doesn't turn off, and it's no longer serving you. It's creating havoc. It's creating disturbance, and you don't know what to do about it. It surprises you with its wayward thoughts. It's just stuff happening. Go deep within. Go deep within. It's called sit still. It's called meditate. It's called find this place within you that is without mind. That is just open, empty, present tense now. The idea that these thoughts are so prominent that you can never get rid of them is one of the things that keeps you trapped in them. Meditation really offers the opportunity to sit down in a space where they do not have to have access. The incredible thing about sitting within is that you can actually feel thoughts forming. You can actually feel them beginning to have their presence known. And as a thought starts to come into you, as it starts to literally rise up within you, there is a moment where there is something in the stillness, in the awareness of the thought, that can go, I don't think so. Nope, not now. It's that simple. It even gets to a point where you don't even have to do that. You just don't engage it. You see it in its seminal form, and you just, by not engaging it, really interesting what happens. A thought that's not engaged has no power. It has no energy. And so by not engaging it, it blips up for a moment, and then it goes, poof, gone. And it's poof, gone, because you didn't take it in. You didn't give it power. Who is this you that's not giving it power? Who is this you that goes no to the thought? Who is this you that's sitting absolutely still and watching these various forces trying to enter and saying, not now? Well, it's a good question. I'll tell you one thing about that space. It has enormous vitality. It's very vigorous. It's very present. It's very alive. And it really is a place of profound security. It has no borders. It has no sense of time. It is not in any way concerned with past or future, because those are thoughts. It doesn't let any of that in. So you are sort of within a space of timeless, borderless being. And you can call it stuff like presence. You can call it stuff like now. You can call it home, refuge, self, higher consciousness. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't respond to those names really, because it's also nameless. It's not identifiable, it's not graspable, it's not even knowable. It just is. If it has feeling, it feels like this. It's comforting. At least that's how it feels when you go deep into it. Here's the problem that most people have, and that is they go into the refuge of stillness of mind, meditative space, the place within, and feel safe. But then they have to engage the world of form and matter, and they come out of that space and they no longer feel safe. The mind has to come back into play. The judgment, the sense of, if I do this, that could happen. If I don't do this, that will happen. And you start to do all that stuff again, and you get caught up in that lack of safety, that lack of security. You get caught back up in the world of what we call duality. Here's another secret, and it's really important. The space of stillness within is also there without. Beyond. The fact that you go into the world and engage the noise, engage the I noise of your life is just an old pattern. It's just something you've been taught since you were very young. The real power of awakening or enlightenment is you realize that even all of this manifested phenomenal space that we inhabit is also this. It's all one thing. The idea that you prefer stillness, the idea that you prefer the bliss of no noise, of no mind, keeps you in duality. It keeps you trapped, really. because you go into the still point of the meditative experience and you go, this is where I want to live. And then after however many minutes or hours or sometimes days of sitting like that, you got to go to the bathroom, you got to get up, you got to go get food, you got to engage the world again. And most people think when that happens that they're losing this, and that's not true. You only lose it because you let your mind go back into habitual thought patterns. You do not have to lose this ever, because this is that, and that is this. It's all one thing. There is no two. There is no two. If you can dive deep into the stillness, you will begin to know yourself. And you will begin to know yourself, and you will watch yourself as it is expressed in all of the movement and all of the dynamic of human exchange, of life in the world. You will see it at work everywhere. And what happens is you will start to see other people as yourself. The self. Because there is no two. It's one thing that's happening both in stillness and in manifested action. It's all one thing. So this thing of other is really you. The thing you're afraid of within is the thing that's manifested without. You're walking around looking at the world and saying, oh, that's going to kill me, it's going to hurt me, they can do terrible things to me. And so you go into the refuge within and you think you're safe. But that's not real safety, because you still have that. Real safety, if there's such a thing, is being in this timeless, spaceless reality that doesn't go anywhere. It is everywhere. It is what you are. And when you know yourself to be that, then you will not see anything as other than that. You will see this extraordinary world around you, full of activity and full of people in action, and you will know, because you've been in a world trapped by that, all that stuff, that they're all lost in the illusion of ignorance, not knowing who they are. The prescription, of course, would be get everybody to go in. Get everybody to dive deep. Find this space in yourself and really, really be one with who you are and what you are. And the whole world would become this unbelievable dance of spectacular acknowledgement, awareness of what we are, of the wonder of being. That's what it would be. It's what it wants to be. In some ways, it's what it is. But the world, as we know, has great darkness in it. It has great ignorance. It has great polarities in it. One of the fascinating things about life is how different we all are, and how that difference is the source of life. That difference is what propels all of this to happen. You know, we build structures to protect ourselves, both from the elements and then from each other. We create relationships to build clans, to build ways of being together so that we can know who we are and keep everybody else away. This world is built basically on fear and on protection and on ways of making sure you're going to be safe, knowing that there's no way ultimately to be safe. There's no way. But we do it anyway because we are within these bodies that have temporary existence. The body has a life from birth to death. It has all these adventures in the middle that we are wildly compelled by, that we would never choose not to come here. This world is so dynamically alive and vibrant and real and thrilling and full of highs and lows, and it's like we hunger for this. It wants to have this. It wants to build itself through us. At the same time, who are we? What is this thing that's building itself? It's this timeless, spaceless being. Some of us will call it nothing. Nothingness, emptiness. That is what we are. But obviously, there's something going on here. What does emptiness feel like? What does nothingness feel like? Well, it's really interesting. If I were to ask you, what's the experience of nothingness? The answer is almost impossible to come up with for one particular reason. If there's someone having the experience, it's not nothing. You haven't experienced nothingness because nothingness doesn't have an experiencer. There's nobody there. So it just is. It just is. Here's what's so fascinating. If you really have to say what nothingness feels like, it feels like this. You're feeling it right now. Nothingness has no opposite. In a sense, all of this everything is nothing. There is no thing. There is nothing. Physicists tell us that all the time. There's no solid anything. There's nothing. And you are experiencing it. You are one with nothing. You are nothing, and this is what it is. This is what it is. It has one polarity that is total stillness and repose, and it has another polarity that is massive manifestation. It goes from unmanifest to manifest, unmanifest to manifest. It keeps happening, perhaps for eternity. But at the center of it, there is a profound stillness. And that is the final space of refuge, the final resting place, if you will. And it's a resting place based on my experience, allow me to be wrong, but based on my experience of unbelievable embrace and comfort. It loves you at its core. And it throws you into manifestation for whatever purpose. And you go out into the world and you create this, whatever you want to create. I will tell you, if you learn through meditation or through the awakening that takes place, if you learn how empty you are at the core, how one you are with everything around you, the dream of your existence will be much more delicious, remarkable, satisfying than what you normally experience. Because you will be awake in it rather than asleep in it. You will walk through it in a state of marvel and wonder rather than in, oh God, I'm going to miss my plane. Oh God, why didn't they call me? Why didn't I hear? Oh my God, I don't have enough money to buy this. All that stuff that dominates your lives, that makes you think that's all there is such an unbelievable, ignorant position to be in. It's so out of touch with truth and reality, and yet it's where most people live. Living in suffering about what isn't and what should be and what might have been and what could have been. All of that stuff keeps you from being here. When you arrive here, and trust me, there's nowhere else that you are. When you wake up to being here, you will know the joy of being alive. The absolute joy of being alive. And sometimes it doesn't feel like joy. Sometimes it feels like pain and suffering, but you won't embrace it as pain and suffering. You will embrace it with a kind of profound awareness of course, this too, even this. The words, even this, will fill you. Even this. It is so amazing to be alive. And if you're missing out on that, people like me will try to knock on your brain a little bit and say, hey, wake up, show up, be here, be present, sit down in the spaceless, timeless reality that you are. Feel the rootedness of that, feel the absolute security of that, feel the totality of that, and let it waft out into the full manifested totality of your larger nature. Be present in the absolute. You are the absolute. You are this. You are this very thing. It is happening. There is a personality in it, there's a body, there's a mind, there's a name, but it's, whoa, way bigger than that. You are all there is. Or let us do it collectively. We are all there is. I hate if this is sounding like philosophy and theory and projection, because that's not the goal. The goal is to spark you into waking up and seeing what I'm talking about. It's a drag for me to sit here and talk about it and to have you go, that was interesting, but a beautiful talk. It's a lovely talk. I don't want to hear it was a lovely talk. I would like you guys to wake up. I would like you to wake up because it doesn't take anything to do it. There's nothing to be done. Just look around you. It's not anywhere else. It's never going to be anywhere else. It's right here. This is it. This is it. It's nothing but this. And if you are going, but, then you're in trouble. Because then the mind is coming in and diagnosing everything I'm saying. Forget that. Forget that. Just show up. Be here. Be empty. Be vast. Be simple. Be quiet. And you will know everything I'm talking about. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's just the stupidity of the ignorant mind that goes right back into the old patterns. And I've been around long enough with a lot of you. I've seen these patterns working for decades. The same pattern pulling you right back in, right back in, right back in. Why? Why? When do you want to stop it? Who else is going to stop it? Who else but you? Like I say, this inner space is beyond powerful. It can stop thought. It can stop all of that stuff that wants to come in and tell you that you are whatever that wants to tell you. No, you're none of the above. Or as I gave in a talk a few weeks ago, all of the above. You are nothing and everything, all simultaneously. It is, as I say repeatedly, incomprehensible what I'm saying. It cannot be understood. You will not get it. Don't try to get it. You are it. And that's enough. All you have to do is go, wow, and thank you. That's all you got to do. So, as you know, I could probably carry this on for another hour or 2 or 10 or 12. But there's nothing more to be said. Nothing more to be said. I would love you to figure it out. I would love you to wake up to what I'm talking about. It's not rocket science. It is the simplest thing in the world. And as I've said before, it needs to be simple because anybody needs to be able to get it. Anybody. And I watch people get it all the time. I watch my grandchildren get it. They don't get it with like, oh, I get it. They're just it. They're just alive in it. They're just going, oh, my grandson walks around like everything is the most amazing thing ever. Ever. You know, a piece of dust on the ground. And then he finds that it's a spider web and it sticks. He goes, and he hates the spider web. He thinks it's terrible. And then he gets rid of it and he wants to find it again. You know, it's like, what was that? It's so incredibly wonderful. You know, we can live like that. We can live like that. The fact that you lost that is your problem, and you can fix it, and you're here because this is a place telling you how to fix it. And it just says, sit still, find yourself, where are you but here, enter into the stillness of yourself so you get clarity, and then look out through the eyes of stillness at the world you are. That's all there is. Easy, easy. Don't make it crazy. Any questions? It's the old. I'm glad you have no questions. On the other hand, I know every one of you is going, well, but it's okay. It's okay. Don't have questions. Figure this out, or just say do it. Just do it. Practice, 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 practice until you're just doing it without practice. Simple.
Bruce, I have one question just regarding the breath. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. So you inhale, take it up to the third eye, down past the throat to the heart, hold it, let out one thing.
Hold it for about 10 seconds. Ask for help to surrender.
Thank you. And then, do you take any more in?
You exhale a little bit and then take a second breath.
Okay.
Big one, all the way down to the navel chakra. Okay.
And then, when
expand your belly a little bit.
Okay.
Ask for help to surrender. Let that energy move around to the base of your spine, up the spine. Exhale.
Okay.
Completely breathe normally for 3 minutes and try it again.
Okay.
Like I say, here's the problem with all of that. The double breath is to get you somewhere. And that's fine. Mostly it's to get you into stillness, which is a practice worth doing. But ultimately, this is a deeper idea, it's trying to take you somewhere else. Or that's the impression you have. Really, where you're trying to get to is where you are. And where you are involves not trying to change the equation, but just say yes to the equation. Say yes to what is. Or as some people would say, love what is. That's a really dynamic practice. So the double breath will allow you definitely to get out of great struggle and discomfort and emotional strain and all of that. It's a very good exercise, but it's an exercise. Ultimately, you will move beyond exercises. You will just be the thing you're trying to do. Okay. Okay, guys. Blanche and I will be back around Christmas time for a week or two with the kids, which will be fun. And there is class every week here, and it's really, the class is taught by people who know Rudy's work, who teach this exercise. This exercise is very valuable in terms of building this strength, as Rudy would put it, getting the strength to dismantle yourself. It's kind of what it is. Building the energy inside so that you don't have to hold on to false constructs of identity. You can let go of all that and just be. That's the process of the class. There are good teachers here. Take advantage of that. And then we'll be back. So we'll keep this thing going, and every week there are videotapes on YouTube of the talks that are given wherever Blanche and I are. So if you feel hungry for more inspiration or more dialogue with this, go to YouTube and brucerubin-class.com, or Rudy the Work it's also called, and you can listen to these talks, and that's available. It's always available, and use it well. Okay. Thank you guys very, very much for coming. I appreciate it.